I'd be grateful if you could confine yourself to 5 minutes.
As the members of the committees, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak today. I just wanted to say quickly that EPLO is an independent civil society platform of 38 European NGOs from 16 countries working in every single continent except Antarctica. I'm going to make my presentation as brief as I possibly can and give some remarks about the overall EU budget. I think the key question that we have today is really what kind of global player does the EU want to be? And that's what we should be considering. In full transparency, we do receive grant funding from the European Commission for a project to conduct structured dialogue on issues related to peace and security. So I wanted to mention that today. So the EU budget is a reflection of the state of the EU as well as its aspirational identities and the role moving forward. And we clearly see the budget demonstrating Europe's desire to be a security actor. The international context can be described as one of uncertainty and insecurity, with new challenges on top of existing ones. And there's increased room and need for the EU to be a global power in its own right. Yet the question remains how to do this. There's soul-searching underway to discover what ingredients comprise the European spirit that founded the EU and what will sustain it moving forward. Politicians are trying to find out what will make the EU more appealing to citizens, with some saying that the EU will have more appeal if it is more credible defense infrastructure and keener focus on security. Feeding on the fears and insecurities of European citizens with bolstered defense capabilities may not be the way to recommit citizens to the European peace project. Over-focusing on short-term hard security approaches to the long-term complex issues may not prove to be either cost-effective or effective in overall giving Europeans a sense of security and a feeling of belonging. Political leaders need to be more vocal about the other ways in which the EU can play an emboldened role in solving global conflict, alongside, with, or in spite of the US, Russia, and China. The EU has a clear legal basis of promoting peace under the Lisbon Treaty, also the 2016 EU Global Strategy. I won't go into detail, but that's worth looking at. Since the global strategy has come into place, we've seen a sharp focus and real attention paid to the common security and defense policy, with the progress mainly being made on the military cooperation side, PESCO, and the European Defence Fund. We have questions about what this high and costly investment in hard security will achieve and what is the theory of change behind it. I think the clear example of this referred to in the last panel is Capacity Building for Security and Development, CBSD, which is the only thematic article under the ICSP regulation which is included both in the text of the regulation itself, and it's also an area of cooperation in the geographic program and twice in the thematic program on peace and stability. There's no cap to the finance dedicated to CBSD, and there's no explicit reference on human rights law, which we think should be paramount to this. In addition, you'll find some form of CBSD or train and equip in the new proposed off-budget instrument, Facility for Military Cooperation, or I think some people call it the European Peace Facility. And this is an area where we would very much call on the European Parliament as an off-budget instrument to look at what its formal scrutiny role is. While these kinds of train and equip programs remain politically attractive, they often disappoint. And I'd advise people to look at some of the historical examples of other governments that have invested billions in this area, only to find shortcomings and hazards. So that's something to look at. Our approach on the MFF is that we want to see this as a way for the EU to be a more effective peace actor, and in particular how to implement the integrated approach to conflicts and crises. And again, our focus is very much on long-term human security. When I came here last time, we were very much focused on the instrument contributing to stability and peace, and particularly on the elements of it that we think are working very well. We're pleased to see the very important characteristics of the ICSP in this proposal, and particularly the funding modalities from ICSP Article 3 and delivery mechanisms around speed, flexibility, variety of actions, range of actions, accessibility to peace-building actors, regardless of their geographic location, and the dedicated team of peace and conflict experts working in Brussels and in conflict-affected countries. And these are critical elements that we really hope will be kept. On the NDICI proposal moving forward, We were happy to see an increased funding allocated to support to external action, including peacebuilding and development cooperation, the explicit reference to peace in the geographic programs, the inclusion of conflict prevention and peacebuilding across all pillars, but we're very concerned that there is not a dedicated objective to peacebuilding and conflict prevention, and we'd recommend that that be looked at, because if it's not there, there's a risk that the issue is going to be sidelined in the implementation. Conflict sensitivity and gender equality mainstreaming came up in the previous panels. We're pleased to see a one-time reference to it. That hasn't happened before, but with a one-time reference, the actual implementation is not going to be there. So we're looking for maintaining the reference to conflict sensitivity in Article 8, including references to the mainstreaming of conflict prevention throughout, including conflict and gender sensitivity as a legal requirement, and properly evaluating gender mainstreaming with all adequate indicators. I'm almost done. We see a lot of conflict prevention specific aspects of the ICSP are not included in the regulation and the annexes of the proposal. And we're concerned that the current actions around, which are crucial for the EU's role as a peace actor, are not included. We've got specific amendments on that, so I won't go into it in detail. And by saying that this is very much an opportunity for the EU to really reconsider what its role is moving forward and what kind of security actor and security for whom and how is it going to achieve it. I believe it was HRVP Mogherini who said that it is the budget that needs to follow the policy. And what we're looking at in this is how to have a balanced approach. We think the proposal can be improved, and we look forward to working with you all on how we can do that. Thank you.
Merci infiniment.